Good morning, wrestling fans. Welcome to PWR today.
Nope. Hold on. You know what? In light of last night's big event, big news, biggest AEW in history, I want to start. Let me do this, and you will appreciate it, Meathead. Because what I want to do, pyro, ballyhoo, welcome to the biggest Thursday morning in wrestling history. Welcome to the biggest night in professional wrestling, in weekly wrestling entertainment. Welcome to AEW Dynamite review on a Thursday morning. Or is it an Impact Wrestling review? Hello, everyone. I'm Dameon Nelson, joined here by Mark Madden. And thank you so much for joining us here on the biggest Thursday morning in wrestling history.
I don't know, man. That felt like a shot. I thought I was supposed to appreciate that when you just called me Mark Manning.
Well, that was unscripted, but I wanted to give Tony Schiavone a little bit of histrionic credit.
The only part you missed, Dameon, was we may have a capacity crowd. It is the biggest night.
Yes, you're right. But a little homage there to Mr. Schiavone. Okay, go ahead. I don't do the other stuff that's written down. You can do that part.
The only thing that was missing from this whole thing was we needed the man he calls Sting.
Oh, Penzer.
So I said it, ladies and gentlemen, last night on AEW Dynamite, the man they call Sting has debuted and is all elite on AEW. Dameon Nelson, thoughts on the Stinger showing up on Dynamite?
Let's back up a little bit, Meathead. That's historic and huge news, obviously. But again, a lot of times in professional wrestling, what we're going to see has been in front of our faces for a very long time. And in both cases, the big news stories coming out of AEW last night, they were. First, you said winter is coming. Well, no one would have ever thought that would be the icon Sting debuting in AEW, making his first appearance on TNT in 18 years.
Can I pause you on that? Because I may have a Milwaukee public school education, but the last show was March of 2001. It's November of 2020. That sounds like 19 years to me. I'm just saying.
Well, they used real math, not marketing math, and they didn't round up, they rounded down.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, anyways, winter came. It was Cody Rhodes and Darby Allin, TNT champion, teaming up against Ricky Starks, the future of the business, and Powerhouse. Why is his name Hobbs? I almost said Brown. Powerhouse Hobbs. And they were, Brian Cage was just about to attack, looked like Cody, I believe, after a big schmoz at the end there, after Cody and Darby got the win. And the lights go dark, and it's clearly somebody new. The intro, I thought at first, was too long to have interrupted a beatdown, but it all paid off when we saw the image on the screen, the words, the name, Sting, debuting with AEW, coming out, getting in the face of Darby Allin, getting in the face of Cody, getting in the face of Arn Anderson. And it was pretty dang on awesome, Meathead. Here's what's great. I hate spoilers in wrestling, and I hate the numerous amount of people who go around saying I told you so after they predicted something after a spoiler or released a spoiler or whatever. Well, none of that happened, and this was probably the biggest wrestling surprise of 2020. And Sting, I think he's 61, by the way.
So that's why he's winter?
Well, winter fell, as did the snow while he was out there. But you know what? Regardless of age, regardless of whatever you want to make comparisons to, his time in WWE, his time in Impact, more on that later, or his time now in AEW, we would find out that he has signed a multi-year agreement with the company. And I hope that doesn't mean many wrestling matches, because they didn't go so well in his last run in WWE. But regardless, having the Stinger there, this is another one of those moments we've talked about on Primetime and this podcast about the Shaq, the Tyson, the now Sting, let's not forget Bischoff showed up there before. They've got so many big names in wrestling that they are reputable. And they ended this show. I'll let you give your thoughts on Sting, but they ended this show with something that may be even more powerful than the debut of Sting, the return of Sting to TNT and debut on AEW last night.
Yeah, so let's talk about first Sting. Now, technically it was a capacity crowd because the capacity is only 500 or 2,000, whatever it is. So Tony's not wrong. Secondly, You said you hate the the IWC for saying "I told you so." There's a certain prognosticator that shows up here on Wednesdays and Fridays by the name of Matthew Thomas. Matthew Thomas actually predicted that it was the man they call Glacier. So he was so close with that snow coming down. I don't want to steal his
Some
thunder.
people were disappointed on social media about that, jokingly.
Well, hey, social media is what it is. But no one could have seen it. No one could have seen it coming. No one knew that Sting was interested in working again. No one knew. He's a WWE Hall of Famer, and we had thought he had done his last match. But you know what? You're right. I hope it's not for a multi-wrestling match appearance. Make it special. Make it the once a year. Make it once every year and a half, whatever it is. But Sting is a brand name that can actually kick up the game in AEW.
Hey, you know what? Two things on that. Firstly, they made it contextually okay. And what I mean by that is saying and really driving home the fact that he's come home to TNT. They didn't have to talk about anything else. They have to talk about him being a Hall of Famer, former champion, whatever else. They said he's come home to TNT, and that filled in all the blanks, especially for the smart fans, which are primarily what AEW's audience is made up of. And there are a lot more smart fans than I think the world gives credit for in the business today. But there was that. So it made sense. They made it make sense. And
they handed it to you without having to beat you over the head with it.
They did. And, it was well done. They did a great job. And, one thing that's going to get right under WWE's skin, not only now that they're going to blacklist Sting from everything, is that ESPN shortly after shared the clip on social media. And we all know how much WWE salivates over getting coverage from
they're in bed with
mainstream media. But to have ESPN cover it as well, send it out to their 31 million followers on at least Twitter alone, that's big time. That's game changer. Last night, was a game-changing night for AEW.
Absolutely. So we don't want to bury the lead on that because they had two major events happen on AEW Dynamite. Yes, the Dynamite Diamond Battle Royal happened. The winners, MJF and Orange Cassidy, wrestling next week. But really, the main event, Winter's Coming, and it was the Gauntlet Eliminator winner, Kenny Omega, the cleaner, taking on the AEW Heavyweight Champion, Jon Moxley. I'd like to welcome Kenny Omega, who is a member of the team they call Meatheads, as they new AEW Heavyweight Champion. Now, that's big enough news as it is. However, on commentary, Impact Wrestling's Don Callis, shenanigans at the end of the match with a microphone, a shot to the forehead. Kenny Omega, Don Callis run off, won't talk to anybody. Tony Khan yelling, everybody yelling. Alex Marvez, I believe, caught him at the end. I will see you next Tuesday on Impact Wrestling. Dameon, thoughts?
Yeah, a heck of a lot to unpack here. Firstly, as I talked about before, wrestling usually tells us what's going to happen without telling us what's going to happen before it happens. And the fact that Don Callis, since I think Full Gear, has been coming out and making cameo appearances and doing guest commentary without really ever alluding to the fact, at least broadly, that he was from another company, was a tell. And it was also perfectly framed in what they did last night with Moxley getting the clean. It wasn't so clean, but it was, it was well told, the story anyways. Getting the win over Moxley, which I thought needed to happen because of the big deal they made of it. And the fact that if, that match would have been forgotten because of what had happened earlier, this made so much sense. And Don Callis getting involved in the finish, but barely, but really. So it was becoming obvious at the end of the match, but what wasn't becoming obvious, which was what was going to happen. You could have thought that Callis would cost Omega the match, and that would make sense. You would thought that perhaps, Omega might win, but you wouldn't have thought he would align himself with Callis, who would then leave. And AEW did this ending brilliantly, going back in the back, going past Tony Khan, who's yelling, going past other talents who are yelling. It was a little odd to have David Marquez just waiting behind that truck with a hot mic and a cameraman, but that needed to happen because Don Callis said, "You'll find out next Tuesday." And next Tuesday, of course, is when Impact is on Access TV, and he told us that as well. It appears as if, Meathead, we have a crossover situation, and we have a partnership situation between Anthem and AEW, Impact and AEW, and here's why it's brilliant. It's brilliant because since WWE has done their great work at capitalizing and cannibalizing all the companies in wrestling, AEW now partnering with Impact creates one united front, not against WWE, but to continue to chip away at the stranglehold that WWE has over wrestling. You can say both companies or either company has their problems. You also must say that WWE has its problems as well. Can you compare them apples to apples? No, absolutely not. But you can be excited, and I think you should, as a wrestling fan, be excited about this partnership and the opportunities that come with it. Go back to now wondering why the Good Brothers went to Impact versus AEW. Now both rosters are pretty stacked. Now we've got
AEW. Yeah.
I'm sorry, Impact. Yeah, you've got both rosters stacked, and now you've got this opportunity for them to collide, if you will. Just let's not forget when the Alliance angle happened in WWE, it was highly anticipated as well. And it was a botch, not because of what they did, but because of who they didn't have. AEW Impact doesn't have that challenge. And at the very least, if Impact gets some shine out of this, that's great for the wrestling business.
As a wrestling fan, for, almost 40 years, this reminds me back of the late 80s and 90s, the Battle Bowls and all those type of situations. We haven't had that. And again, I still have scar tissue on my wrestling heart from 2001. Go ahead, Dameon. Tell them what happened at WCW.
It's a defunct wrestling company that went out of business and was purchased by WWE in 2001.
When we got the Alliance and the Invasion, well, maybe this will be cool. We'll get some matchups that we hoped. Yeah, botch was not even a strong enough word for it.
The best match of that night was Hardy versus Hardy. Yeah, and that was intercompany or within the company. So There you go.
So, I mean, it's not going to be, this, oh my God moment of 2020. However, we're going to get two separate companies now put together. They're doing business together. There is nothing against, and we mentioned this on the AEW, recap after Full Gear. Did it on our program. We did it on the Super Show. The fact that companies work together, you can never get anything but good business out of it.
No, you absolutely can't. And the possibilities are endless. And, those two big things, a huge night for AEW, you wondered why they were giving this match away for free. You wondered why the themed episode, but they've had a few. Nothing was obvious about last night, and I think that's absolutely tremendous. The whole situation with the Inner Circle, the Battle Royal to kick off the show, it was a solid edition of AEW Dynamite last night. They did it. They hit a home run.
I'm excited. I am excited to watch more. I mean, that's literally where I am right now. I'm excited to watch more. Here we are Thursday morning.
Right. And I thought you were in Wisconsin.
Excited. What's that?
I thought you were in Wisconsin.
Oh, I am in Wisconsin. Where are you? Do you know what state you're in?
I'm on the East Coast. That's all I can disclose at this time.
10-4. All right. We are bearing another lead from Wednesday's news, and this one's more of a somber note. A man who did it his way, and in his video package had good old Frank singing My Way. Pat Patterson has passed. The creator of the Royal Rumble, and really the first Intercontinental Champion. Pat Patterson, heavily involved in WWE product, WWF product, and WWF. Pat Patterson was a funny dude. I loved him on Legends House, and he was one of the Stooges, during the Attitude Era. Dameon, explain to us what Pat Patterson meant to you as far as what he's contributed to the company and what he did as a man.
The first exposure we had to Pat Patterson was, as a WWE official before he was part of the Stooges. And you always knew, something big happened when that guy with the paper in his back pocket came out to break something up or what have you. Patterson was an icon in this business, first Intercontinental Champion, not only the creator of the Royal Rumble, but did so much more. And as so many people went out onto social media to share yesterday, he shaped the careers of a lot of people, including The Rock, who put a heartfelt message out on Instagram, I believe it was, about Patterson, who at 79 years of age passed just yesterday, rather unexpectedly, it seems. A legend in the business. I had the honor of meeting Pat on one or two occasions. Actually, spent some time with him and good old Mean Gene Okerlund out in Las Vegas, along with Dave Hero.
Yeah, I worry about that. All you got to do is throw in Piper in that, and then it's over. You
a couple of years back, it was a good time. Pat was a great man. He was a humble man. He was a friendly man, and the fact that he also honored the greatest man that ever lived, which is Frank Sinatra, and endeared by doing that famous karaoke of My Way. You know, Pat and I shared a stage one night in New Orleans, WrestleMania 30 weekend at the Cat's Meow on Bourbon Street. He performed My Way. I performed New York, New York on the same stage, but separately.
So who started spreading the news?
Oh, you know what? It's always spread, especially in New Orleans. But you know, a great night, and of course, another legend lost in the world of professional wrestling. And you know, as you talk about Meathead, we're all getting up there in age. You so more than me, but we are seeing a lot of these legends pass. And you know, it's these are people from your childhood. And when you talk about being a wrestling fan, it's different from maybe being a sports fan, because in wrestling, they seem to all go within a short period of time. Sort of like the Golden Girls. Big fan of the Golden Girls, as you know, Betty White, the last woman standing, the sole survivor, literally. But, you know, each one of the other girls died 1 year apart. And it was almost like clockwork. And you figured Betty was going to be next after, I think it was Sophia, Rue, then Dorothy. What's her name? Gosh, I almost said Barbara Billingsley. That's June Cleaver, B. Arthur. And you know, it's just it does sting a little bit, but you know, rest his soul, and may his memory be eternal.
Absolutely. Let's talk about a couple quick touches here on NXT. First off, the Grimes set up for the strap match with Dexter Lumis. Wade Barrett goes, "Where did that man come from?" I said, "Wherever he came from, looks like he sat in gum." Folks, go back and watch the match. He's got a big green blotch of something on his pants. Looks like he sat in gum. The main event really was to find out who the fourth member of the women's War Games team was going to be. And Shotzi's team wins the advantage. Io Shirai is the fourth member. I'm excited to see what's going to happen this Sunday at NXT TakeOver War Games.
Yeah, it's going to be a good show. Look, here's my question. Where is War Games coming from, the Capitol Wrestling Center or the Thunderdome?
Yes. Capitol Wrestling Center.
They're going to fit 2 rings in there?
Sure.
All right.
You just change the stage. That's all.
Oh, it's that easy, huh? Well, you know, a great.
Well, they're breaking it down afterwards. I mean, they got a week.
Yeah, War Games. You know, I still refer to it as the Match Beyond, because that's what WCW taught me to say.
Yep.
You know, it's good. A great addition. A good story told over the course of NXT last night, getting us to War Games. I'll watch it. I'll see what happens, and just for the nostalgia factor of the event itself alone. Of
course. You know,
Dexter Lumis, though, to that point, I gotta say, and so many people say him and Karrion Kross, they are rising, if not already, big stars in the wrestling business. And I think that it's good that they remain in NXT for the foreseeable future, as opposed to some who want to see them called up, because you know, the call-up history isn't all that great.
No. You had mentioned Thunderdome. Now, Thunderdome this week, the Monday edition of Raw, will be the last Thunderdome from the Amway Center. It debuts in the Tropicana Field next week, Friday.
Yes, it does. I'm not sure we're going to notice much of a different look. However, it is a baseball stadium, right?
Yes, and they've only got until about mid-March to use that. I wonder what's going to happen after that, because the Devil Rays, or the Rays, will start playing baseball again.
Yeah, I think, you know, given what we're seeing in the world, we might be in a situation where they could return to some type of live events and at that time, but we don't know. Yeah, you know what? The Thunderdome is a technological wonder. It's a modern marvel, if you will. They're going to pick all that up and move it across Florida. And I don't think it's going to look much difference to us as fans, but they may use a different configuration of the stadium, you know, home plate, you know, use that backdrop is like almost like the Royal Rumble setup, if you will.
Yeah. Where they had the dugout, and I think that was Reigns. And who was Reigns working? But they did the spots on the dugout.
Yeah.
Dameon, that's a quick 20. I mean, literally, we're ready to go. It's time. That was a nice, crisp, clean 20 minutes. We didn't even talk about our sponsors yet. Our friends at manscaped.com are saving you 20% off if you use the promo code PWR. Make sure you get on over to manscaped.com. And once you become silky smooth, for you work-at-home folks, you got to get some clothes on you, because now you're clean. Get on over to collarandelbowbrand.com and get yourself some really nice duds PWR 360 saves you 10%. And, there's no saying that these guys might not throw out some holiday promos. Check the website. Make sure to see what they got going on. Take care of our sponsors and subscribe, download us. We're on the YouTubes again. Dameon, that's working again. We've got the Facebooks, the Apple, the Spotifys, the Spreckers, all those other good ones. Subscribe, tell your friends. So for Dameon Nelson, I'm the man they call Meathead. Hey, thanks for stopping by. So long, everyone.
Bye.